Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and we are starting the Kickstarter. So I have in the background right here Rashaan and Courtney from Short Fuse Media. So if we have any questions for them, if you have any specific questions for them, they're here with us. And I don't know if they're going to be muted during it. I'm not sure. So I think they're just here just to support. So we are waiting for some viewers to come in, and then we can start getting some questions. So let me just see. Okay, so yeah, we got hello guys. So as we start, let's try getting some questions in. I know usually towards the beginning we don't get as many, but yeah, let's start getting that in as I talk about the Kickstarter. So what is Like Father, Like Daughter? We'll explain that first again if you guys don't know what that comic book is. It's my comic book that came out about a year ago for the screenplay for my screenplay writing class that I took in college, and I came up with this idea that I wanted to do something really fun for comic books, but also parodize comic books in a way too at the same time, and then tell a real story that you might not even see in a comic book, and that's something I really wanted to do with Like Father, Like Daughter. So it's about this girl who's in high school. Her father left her when she was very young to be a superhero. He's the only superhero in the world, and again, this story gets really twisted. There's a lot of twists and turns that you won't expect. Even in the first issue, us and Short Fuse Media are trying not to spoil the first issue at all because there's a lot of things that happen in it, and a lot of people are like, oh, but I don't really know much about the premise. It's because the first issue has a lot of twists that we can't really say exactly, so we're trying to be kind of like Disney in a way where we promote it a little, but we're not trying to reveal everything. We want to keep secrets too. That's a big thing about Like Father, Like Daughter, because there's so many twists and turns in the series. We want to keep some secrets at the same time. So definitely, we're excited about that, and let's go talk about the characters a little bit as we try to get some more questions here. Again, usually with these live shows, we get towards the questions as the live show goes along because people are starting to join us. I just got to reload the page just to make sure everything's going well here. All right, it seems like everything's going fine. So yeah, just ask questions in the comments below. So yeah, let's go for the characters. Who are these characters? And just again, as much as we can reveal. Casey, she's our main character. Again, she's the character who's the daughter of Invulnerable. She's in high school. She's mad at Invulnerable. She is. She sees Invulnerable all over the place. So she has to deal with that. As everyone loves Invulnerable, she knows his true colors to be not the best guy. He was obviously not the best father for leaving. And, everyone's questioning why did Invulnerable leave. You will get those answers as the series goes on. It won't be right away, but there will be a lot of mystery going on around that character. But you will see Invulnerable pretty much every issue. I will say that. So it does lead up and build up to who the hell this character is. So, yeah, Casey, angry at Invulnerable, but why is this title called Like Father, Like Daughter? It's a good question. So Invulnerable, who is Invulnerable, is the superhero that has left his daughter, and everyone loves him. He's kind of like the Superman. What are his powers? He can run really fast, and he's super strong, and he's invulnerable. And I think these powers are a little bit more grounded than like getting beams out of your eyes or flying. That was actually a big debate. Should we have invulnerable fly or not? And I decided no, because I wanted a little bit more grounded and kind of like Bionic Man type powers. Even though obviously he's not a Bionic Man, those are where I got a reference from. I wanted very grounded type, like Bionic Woman / $6 Million Man. So that's something we got for Invulnerable. And also, if you read the blogs, I didn't put a cape because of The Incredibles. So that was one reference to that, because Edna's like, you can't have capes on superheroes. That's what I decided to do. So other characters, you get to see Jessica, who's the mother of Casey, and you see they don't have the greatest relationship. You can check out the webcomic on our website for all three of these characters, Casey, Vulnerable, and Jessica. So if you want to learn more about those characters and get in their heads a little, you can check that out. Yeah, Jessica's the mother of Casey. She works a job, a desk job in a cubicle, so she's not having fun with that. And yeah, so she's not really very close to Casey. And how does she feel about Invulnerable? That's revealed as the series goes on also, how she deals with all this. It's not just Casey dealing with it, it's Jessica also. And then two other characters that I think are really cool is Stephanie. Stephanie is Casey's best friend. Even though Casey's pretty popular in school, she has a good group of friends. Casey's her best friend that she'll always trust. And I love Stephanie because she's so quirky and she's kind of out there, but she's so loyal. That's the best thing about Stephanie is she's a very loyal character to Casey. You could always believe her, and I guess she's a little naive at times too. Now, our last character is another important one that if you like comic books, this is the character you're going to see poke fun at the genre a little bit more, and that's Wes. He's a little bit of a geek character, but Casey and Stephanie, they end up becoming friends with him, and he learns a little bit about these two, and Wes gives them comic book information, and he's a humongous Invulnerable fan. He loves Invulnerable, so that's another thing. He loves Invulnerable, Casey doesn't, so that'll definitely be interesting. But yes, he's definitely the person that will give a lot of the comic book references. All right, so we have about 8 viewers, so let's hope we got some questions here. All right, let's see. All right, awesome. All right, so let's get into those questions. And again, Short Fuse Media, Rashaan, Courtney, they will be in the comments if you guys have any questions, and they're right here on the panel. So if there's a question for them too, you could ask too. All right, so let's get into some of these questions. All right, Comic Book Bros. Hey, Kat, I love your passion for this. My question is, what is your goal for the series? Oh, that's a really cool question. Thank you for supporting the book. Another reason I did this Q&A is to kind of support the book, put the word out there for the people that haven't backed up the project, and also special thanks for the people that have backed it up already. So yeah, question: what is my goal for this comic? Is to have a really strong female character out there. I mean, we're definitely starting to have that in the comic book genre in DC, Marvel, indie books, but I think this is a character we really haven't seen, and a story we really haven't seen, because superheroes are either, yeah, of course we've seen anti-heroes, but we never seen a hero that is a bad person but a good hero. He loves the world, but he's not great to his family. So I don't think we've ever really seen that. So I think Invulnerable is unique in that way, and it's a very grounded story. There's some real life problems here, and you'll see that definitely as the series goes on. There's a lot of real life situations here, and that's something I really want to put there. So that's my goal, is to show that and to give a unique book. And I do have at least 11 issues planned. I did the movie script, so I'm converting those into the issues. But I have ideas for it after too. But I will say after the first story arc, things change a lot. So that's a big thing I want to say. All right. Again, just comments on Like Father, Like Daughter. I saw something about video games. I will have another Q&A one of these days where you can ask me, video games, comic books, whatever you want. But for this is just Like Father, Like Daughter and Kickstarter. So just want to mention that. All right, so next question is from Jeremy. Hey, Jeremy, Mr. J's Comic Reviews. What's up, Kat? So since you've been working this for a while, who's your favorite character to write? That is a really interesting question, Jeremy. I like writing all the characters, and I know that's somewhat of a cop-out, especially depending on the issue, I would say maybe go by issue. I would say Casey was my favorite to write for the first issue, but, there's some really quirky things that Stephanie does that I really like. Wes, as a comic book fan, I love those references he makes, and they're definitely plausible. He has to make these references throughout the comic book, so I love how he pokes fun at the superhero genre. We poke fun at the superhero genre in a way without, making it obvious. Yeah, and Invulnerable is so interesting, right, because he's, like, such a mystery character. He has a lot of depth to his character. I think all these characters truly do, and he's really interesting to write. Jessica's interesting to write too, and she gets a lot more screen time as the first story arc goes on. You won't see her as much in the beginning, but you'll see her a little bit more towards the middle and end of the first story arc. So you got all those characters. I know that's somewhat of a cop-out. Okay, Tevia. Quick question. I was just wondering, does the series have a beginning, middle, and end? Just wondering. That's a really cool question, Tevia. The story arc definitely has a beginning, middle, and end. And I don't know the end of the comic just yet. You know, the whole series in general. I know the next story arc I would like to tell, but I'm not going to write it just yet because we have a pretty long first story arc. So I'm focusing more on the first story arc and obviously the Kickstarter before I start plotting for the second story arc. So yeah, there's definitely a beginning, a middle, and end for that first story. Again, that changes so much. That could be a graphic novel if you wanted it to, but I decided to do single issue. That's the way I wanted it, and yeah, so that's the answer for that. I want this to be an ongoing. So, all right, next question. Scotty Showman, the last Like Father Like Daughter Q&A was about a month ago. Can you guys talk about what the last month has been like for you? Make it the comic, going through the Kickstarter, and carrying on the process. Any specific little stories stand out? Yeah, I started the Q&A for the first one, I think right when my first semester started for school this year, so it was around September, and I know I did like end of summer Q&A during August, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, going back to what's the process been like, I think we launched a Q&A because of the website, I'm pretty sure. Maybe it was like right after the website. So now we're at the Kickstarter phase. It's kind of hard to like share the project. It's tough, and I want to get people interested in the project and put the word out there. I think that's the toughest part. But the fun part is to see that people that may not initially been into the series, getting into the series, learning a little bit about me and learning more about these characters, and really cool reviews we got on different websites, and a lot of exposure that way. And it's cool that some people, I love people's comments because I obviously have the vision of where the story is going, but other people, they say something that I'm like, oh, I wish I did that. Or it's like they have no idea what's going to happen next, and I think that's the best comments is where people say something I'm like, I can't wait until they read like issue 2 because it might blow their mind. So that stuff I get really excited about. And as a writer, now I understand how writers feel for my favorite comic books, where they don't want to reveal stuff, but they surely do want to reveal stuff. As a writer, I truly want to reveal stuff to you, but the fun thing is to release that comic and allow you guys to be surprised. So that's a cool thing. I think I answered your question. All right, let's see some more. Keep having to reload it, so mind me, guys. Especially Firefox. I'm going to change the browser actually, just to get your questions a little easier. I don't know why Firefox doesn't like loading questions very easy. All right, let's see. Yes, it's on mute, so that's good. Let's see. Again, ask those questions in the comments. Here we go. More questions already. I just loaded 2. There we go. No, I don't know why Google Chrome is not working either. But yeah, talking about Like Father Like Daughter. Thank you guys for commenting. That's awesome. And all right, here we go. I'm gonna get this question first. I know it's not in order, but just as it loads for newest first. This is from Jay. How much of the book will be about real life, and how much will focus on a vulnerable and him being a superhero? That's a really cool question, Jay. Philly Superman. There's a lot of real life problems here. Like I said, the premise of the book is about this father leaving his child at a young age to be selfish and be a superhero. So there's really a lot of real life problems in that way, a lot of family dynamics, and the villain is a very real life problem, I would say. And that's something that's very interesting. It gives a little commentary on different things. It's a little teaser for you guys. So the villain's very real life. And there's a lot of superhero aspects also. We get to see vulnerable in action, but I intertwine the real life story and the superhero story. You're not going to see as much supervillain, at least in the first story arc. You're not going to see that. You're definitely going to see the real life problems intertwined with the superhero problems. They definitely come together. So, all right, let's see if this is loading now. All right. I think I got some of the questions. I don't know why others aren't loading, because usually this works. Let's see. All right. We got 20 comments, but when I go to new first, there we go. I think it's working now. All right. Next question is from Tevia. Hey, Kat, quick question. I'm wondering, can we do a crossover with a comic idea in your comic Sunday, please? First, we got to get issue 1 out of the way first. Right now, I'm not looking for like Father Like Daughter to really cross into anything. I really want it to make its own story, but you never know as years go on or months go on. I gotta see where the story's going. But first, let's get this first story arc out there. You gotta form the like Father Like Daughter world also. So that's something we gotta do. All right, next is. This is from Jay. This is for Short Fuse Media. What was it about Like Father Like Daughter just made you jump on board? So Rashaan, what was it of Like Father Like Daughter that made you jump onto the project?
Well, I actually just responded in the comments for that question. The first and foremost, it was the method in which Comic Uno went about and looking for an artist. She posted a video on a message board on a job board, that one of the job boards that we actually frequent, which was Reddit, and just her passion in speaking and about what she wanted to do was one of the things that really caught our attention. So I immediately sent a tweet to her because I didn't know any other way to get a hold of her, because I wasn't an official Comic Uno fan at that point. That was actually my first introduction to her show, which I've been watching faithfully ever since. And she responded, and upon her sending the script over, that sealed the deal, because the script was just an original concept that we really caught some intrigue with. So that's pretty much what did it, and that's what caught our attention, and that's why we jumped on board with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I love working with Short Fuse Media, and it's been a great ride. And yeah, if you guys have any more questions for Rashaan, also, you definitely can ask, and he'll respond. And we also have Courtney, his intern, here too. But yeah, I was so happy to jump on board with Short Fuse Media. It's been wonderful to work with each other. We've had such a great collaboration, and anyone that says, hey, I want to do a comic book, I always send them to Short Fuse Media because they're awesome. So let's go move on to the next question. All right, this is, gotta use the other browser. This is from Mike Spiderslayer. Hey, Kat, you know I love villains. What can I expect on some bad guys? Wow, Mike, that's a really good question. I gotta say, the story with the bad guys here is what really is the twist and turns. I can't really spoil much from it. I can't really say much about it, but it's very grounded villains in a way. You're not going to be seeing, Electro type villain or, Doomsday. They're not monsters in that way, but they're very grounded villains and very realistic, I'll say. It's very interesting, and they're very fun to write. And I can't say much more about that, because I will say that the bad guys is one of the twists that we get into, and it's a lot of fun. All right, next question. All right, this is from Jeremy. What genre would you put Like Father Like Daughter in? I mean, I would say the superhero genre #1, but there's all these other genres also. Drama. I don't want to say soap opera. But some people might put it in that, because there is some soap opera themes going on. But I do not want to say that. I will say drama, definitely. So, I know family is not a genre, but if I could say that, I would definitely go with family. But mostly superhero, best way to put it. Okay, let's see. More questions here. Ryan Reed. Kat, I was watching your Kickstarter video, and you were talking about how you don't like long, drawn-out stories in comics. How do you hope to keep the series flowing without rushing the story? Best way to put it, as I said, the first story arc is actually pretty long, because it's based on a movie script. So the movie script is about 90 pages, and that's the whole first story arc. And what I mean, I don't want any issue to ever feel boring. And unless there might be a fun issue, like Girls' Night Out issue or something. I don't consider that a filler. I hate issues where nothing gets accomplished. Every issue, someone's going to get accomplished with this book, because I don't want to waste your money. So every issue, you're going to get something accomplished. And in these 10 issues, there's so much progression in these first 10 issues. Again, literally, this comic becomes something totally different by the last issue of the story arc. It becomes a different story, and that's something that I'm really excited to reveal. And I will tell you this story without revealing too much. during our screenwriting class, we read our screenplays to each other. It was a workshop, pretty much. So I bring in, a couple of pages. I usually read 10 pages, and I bring in my climax of the book, and I would say it would be around issue 8 or 9. I bring the climax in, and I let everyone read it, and people started gasping and be like, "What? You just did that?" So I hope that's the same reaction to you guys, especially since my class wasn't superhero fans at all, but even a superhero fan can relate to this ending, and it changes things so much that, I just had to keep saying that. It just changes the story so much, and I hope you guys have the same reaction, like, oh my god, you just did that? You can't do that. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And there's a purpose, the reason why I do these things. There's a purpose of that ending. And once we get to that point, you'll see what I'm saying. Okay. Let's move on to Tevia's question. I am just wondering, who's the Casey's main arch nemesis? Is it her father, like Invulnerable, or is it Lex Luthor type villain? See, that spoils the story, so I can't tell you who the villain is or who the arch nemesis is. So can't tell you that is that. Okay. Next is, I think we answered that, because again, I had to answer out of order some of them. Okay, yeah. So next is from Mike Spireslayer. Honestly, there's a lot into making a comic book. How stressed out are you right now? Mike, I am very stressed out. It's a lot to make the comic. I was lucky enough to already write a lot of the story and have a lot of ideas for the story. So honestly, writing the comic was not hard at all, honestly. It came pretty smoothly to me. I didn't really have a lot of writer's block. I mean, there are some points where I'm like, is that logically correct? So I'd have to like ask my brother, is like, scientifically, could this happen? And then I would make something that scientifically could happen with that. So those are only times, and there was a point, there's a twist. There's a lot of twists in the book. There is a twist in the book, and I was like, how do I make this happen? And that was probably the hardest thing to do, is to make this twist happen. So once we get to that point, I'll tell you that twist, and I'll obviously talk about the process of writing it, but that was really hard. But yeah, the Kickstarter is probably the hardest, is trying to get people to back up the story and, look at the story, and that's the hardest part. And then once people find it, hopefully enjoy it, so we're working really hard, and we hope that you guys will like it. All right, let's move on to the next question. All right. I think just got loads of more questions. Okay. Other guitar dude, what was your inspiration for Like Father, Like Daughter? I think there's a lot of comics and just stories that inspired me in general. I love teen heroes. I think they're awesome. They have so much potential. They're fun to write. I've always been drawn to teen heroes, even like when I wasn't in high school. When I'm in college now, I still love high school stories. When I was in grammar school, I loved high school stories. So it's just something that always intrigued me, because you get to see these group of people that necessarily wouldn't even like each other come together, and everyone's different, and it brings a really cool pool of people. So that's always interesting. But going back to your question, what inspired me? Again, just comic books in general inspired me. I told you the Bionic Woman and Bionic Man kind of inspired me, like the grounded elements of the powers. There's another thing that inspired me that I can't talk about until the twist happens. There's another thing that did inspire me. That was a TV show, and that's all I'm going to say. That's it. I can't say much else besides that. All right, next question is from Tavia, Short Fuse Media, and Hayden Claire Heroes. I'm just wondering if we combine. All right, well, yes, crossover. It will have your own video game. Again, depending on I'm concentrating more on the Like Father, Like Daughter world right now. I'm not really focusing on other platforms just yet. We're focusing on the first issue and the comic book itself. Okay, next question.
I want to chime in. I'm gonna chime in on that one.
Go ahead.
If we can get the project to the point where it's accepted by everybody, then we're gonna do it all. Comic Uno's gonna have a movie on Like Father, Like Daughter. She's gonna have TV shows about Like Father, Like Daughter, as well as video games. Short Fuse Media, we do dabble in some video game creation, and we are practicing things like right now that we can potentially bring into the fold, and there may be some surprises that even Kat doesn't know about just yet. Just like on on the last Q&A that she had, a question came about a motion comic, and her response was, "For right now, we don't know." So I wasn't on the actual Q&A, but I immediately notified after we will have a motion comic eventually, and you guys can, as much as you guys support it and make it a popular thing, we'll get it out that much quicker. But all of those things are possibilities.
That's awesome. Yeah, again, Rashaan sometimes tells me things I don't even know, which is really cool. So that's why we have Rashaan and Courtney on today. Because sometimes, like the company stuff, I don't know much about. I know obviously my story, but Rashaan always could add some more stuff. Like, oh, one day we get a video game, and that's pretty cool. Like, I would love to see that. And obviously a TV show, I would love to see, in a movie because it's already written up. So it's cool to see that stuff. So definitely put those questions that maybe I don't even know.
It kind of goes into, like, even with some of the rewards, we added in the action figures at the end.
Mhm.
As even though that was something that we didn't discuss ahead of time,
Yeah,
we made a
originally we did not
decision
have
to,
that.
but we just figured it'd be a good reward for the people to back the project up, which is actually a good segue into another question that we have from Scotty Showman.
Oh yeah,
You had a question about, yeah, it was a question. I don't know if you want to read it, because I don't have
yeah,
the
sure,
screen up,
yeah,
where he about the Kickstarter rewards.
yeah. At $35, someone will receive a Kickstarter collector's pack. And past the $100 mark is pledges. We start having a cameo character prizes. Could you guys elaborate on that a little more? So Rashaan, yeah, you could elaborate on more on that.
Okay, for the $35 collector's pack, which what the reward will be, you'll get a physical copy of the comic, which is signed by Comic Uno. You will also get the digital version. You will get a printed mini version of the web comic that we have posted right now on the website. On top of that, the package will be included inside of like a DVD case, where you'll get an additional content wraparound cover. That's its own cover for the project. You'll have the DVD, a DVD with the actual disc on it, which will have a special shout out video on it from Comic Uno, which she actually be thanking everyone that actually participated in the $35 tier mark. And that'll pretty much round up the $35 collector's package. So you got the book, you have the DVD with the video, you also have some extra content as far as more artwork, and the mini comic version of the web comic. So once you get to the $100 mark, you still get all of that stuff from the $35 tier. But as well, you also have the things, the items from the $50 tier, which was an additional T-shirt that was included. And then you start getting into appearing into the comic, and that's when the cameo features and things start. So a lot of that is broke down on the Kickstarter page, and you guys can also leave comments on the Kickstarter page if you're a backer, or you can contact us direct, and we can answer those questions for you in more detail. And if we need to adjust what's on the screen so you can see it even that much better and it explains better, let us know, and we'll get that taken care of for you.
Yeah, definitely. So if you guys have any questions about the prizes in general, just ask us. We love answering those questions, and we try to make some really reasonable prizes that you guys can enjoy with the price tag that's on it. We want to give you stuff for, backing up the project, and we want you to be a part of this, and that's why we're doing a Q&A. We're doing so many things that way you could be part of the project also. So let's move on to the next question, which is, Jay, we know that the universe has one hero, invulnerable. Or are there multiple villains or more grounded superpowers? I will say there's multiple villains. I will say that. There's not just one villain. There are multiple for the first story arc. It is grounded for now. I will say I can't really answer, anything about superpowers, anything about that. You're going to have to wait and see for that. But I will say there's answers by, like, issue 1. You're going to get answers about different superpowers, how grounded this story arc truly is. So, or this story in general. All right, next is from Jay. How did you decide which of your artists would best fit this particular comic and story? I think this is actually another question for Rashaan to answer, because this is the artist from Short Fuse Media.
Well, we looked at some of the things that Comic Uno asked for when she made the video. She made a video and she said she wanted she had a really good example of what she wanted. So we looked through our roster and we found out which artists we thought would fit that bill. The funny thing about it though is that we actually used two different artists. On the actual book that's coming out, like Father Like Daughter issue #1, we picked an artist that Comic Uno approved. Cat approved all of the artists, but we used a separate artist for the web comic because we thought we wanted it to have a different feel, and we wanted to show, the audience that they weren't gonna get the finished version on the website for free. So, we basically wanted to have something that basically captured the feel of the story with our first artist that we used, which was Chester Lopez. And then when we got to the actual Kickstarter campaign, you start seeing the pages from the actual comics, which is done by an artist named Wayne Brown. So, we went with basically what we thought Kat was looking for as far as what she was looking for in an artist, and we used those sentiments in order to pick which artist that we went with.
Yeah, and Rashaan asked me for images that I would like the characters to look into. Maybe Rashaan could elaborate on this too. Not too much, so we don't spoil much, but we had to get different references to see what the characters look like. But Rashaan, you want to elaborate on that? Why we did that?
Yeah, well, the gist of it is we wanted the story to be what Kat wanted it to be. And basically she had an idea of how, with some real life individuals that she thought that, hey, I think these characters should look like these people, and have these similarities, certain color schemes and things like that. And like she said, she provided a lot of reference pieces. So in using those references, we got with our team, and we all, we put our brains together to figure out, what would the characters look like based off of the ideals that she had in her head. Because the biggest thing about creating a comic, and creating a character is being able to produce what somebody is visualizing in their head. And unfortunately, that idea is not always the same picture from all parties. So, it's a collaborative effort. So, we came with concepts, we sent them to Kat looked at the concepts and approved them or vetoed them, which for the most part they were approvals. Yeah. And we went from there.
Yeah, it is a really cool experience, and since one cool thing as a writer, you really do have a character in your mind, and I think that helped because it was a screenplay at first, so I kind of already knew like who would I want to play this character, and that helped a lot in maybe who inspired this character and what I was looking in my head, and what. When the comic actually comes out, I'll say different inspirations I had about it. But yeah, it was really cool for that, and we really sent. I remember when we first started, we were sending emails like probably every hour. We had so many ideas, and again, me and Rashaan, we email at least every day about this project, and it's very much a collaborative effort, and that's the fun thing about this. Right, and again, get more of those questions in, and we'll answer them. All right. I love all the questions. Other guitar dude, hey Kat, what is it like being on the side of the comic book realm as a writer instead of a reviewer, as we've known you as? Really cool question. I've always wanted to be a writer. I've been always back and forth about it. You can probably check out beginning Q&As, or I'm like, I don't know if I want to be a writer. I don't know. Am I good enough to really be a writer? Especially after seeing all these great comics, and like you have an idea to really have a comic book. And, I came up with the idea, and it's really cool. Now I understand why writers want to be so secretive, because, like, we want to reveal all these informations for you, but we want you to be shocked at the same time and enjoy the book to its fullest. And like I said, I go the Disney route, where I don't want to reveal too much about the book, and I want you to be surprised. And there's actually a lot of stuff in the first issue you guys don't know, and it really begins this story, and the main premise is something you really don't know about the book yet, and that's in issue 1. So it's cool that we didn't reveal that. We could have in a promotion, totally could have revealed it, and made more people to even be even more interested in it. We want the viewer and the reader to be shocked and to be surprised. So that's why we don't reveal it, and why we're keeping a lot of these story plots mysterious. And that's a decision we had to make, and that's what we did. And so yeah, it's cool to have that. And as a reviewer, I think I review myself sometimes. I think about it as the issue 1. If I was reading this book, how would I review it? What would I grade it? What would be the wrong things? And I go back and I actually do look at it as a reviewer. And that's what I try doing. And as a consumer, as a comic book fan, I look at this book. I don't say, oh, I just want to write a book. I just want to put my story out there. No, I look at this as a comic book lover, and that's something that I think is special. Okay, next question is from the other guitar dude. How do you feel your time as a reviewer has helped you in your writing? Extremely has helped me in my writing. I think just looking at other people's stories, knowing how comics work, has really helped. Looking into the news of comics, obviously, like this is happening at Marvel, this is happening at DC, this new indie book is out there. And as a reviewer, I have to read more books than the regular comic book reader most of the time. You just have to try out more books, like maybe an event you wouldn't pick up, you have to pick up because you're a reviewer, you got to cover it. Even if you don't like the first issue, then you drop it, but at least you read the first issue. So as a reviewer, we got to read a lot of books, and that has helped a lot because you get to see other people's mindset and where it's going, and you want to speculate more. So actually, my speculations, I think, has helped a lot too because it widens your imagination. So definitely, as a comic book reviewer, first of all, it helped just get this all come together. If I didn't, guys, this comic book wouldn't be possible. But also just as the reviewer standpoint is just learning more about comics in general, and that's how I learned to write them, and that's pretty cool. All right, next question. Moved up. All right. For Short Fuse Media, what has it been like working with Comic Uno so far? So Rashaan, that is a question for you.
It's been real good. It's been a different experience. Kat was the first. She was the first writer that we worked with that wasn't necessarily 100% in-house working on one of our projects. This is our first project that we are releasing. Although we've done other projects, most of the comics that we do are custom comics. That's what our company specializes in, which are more so gift projects. But we are jumping into the publishing game, and we're starting off with like father, like daughter. A question was asked down below about if we had any other announcements coming for any other comics. That we're not going to talk about that right here, but I will say if you follow us on Twitter or something, you'll see that we have things coming in our first project that we will be releasing after this Comic Uno is a part of. So,
Yes.
we definitely have other projects coming, but for the most part, working with her has been well enough that we ended up, which I still have to issue the check for. We actually paid her to work on one of our projects. So, and thinking about that, I'm going to issue the check right now. So.
Yeah, it's working with Short Fuse Media on another project, which obviously I can't talk about. It was really fun because I got to poke on someone else's ideas and not just mine. So going into different styles of writing of comic books was really fun. So it's been great working with Short Fuse Media for that. So yeah, I can't wait for that project to be revealed also. That's going to be fun. All right, next question. This is from Tevia. Short Fuse Media. I was hoping if we can do okay, well, since this is the idea for your comic, definitely contact Short Fuse Media in a separate message, and we'll talk. They could definitely talk about that with you. Their email's on their website, so definitely talk to Rashaan in an email about your project. Okay. Next is from Jeremy. What kind of tone can we expect from the series? Lighthearted and fun like Spider-Man, or will it have some dark twists as well? I would say overall, it's, there's a lot of emotion here because it's about a superhero that left his daughter to become a superhero. So there's a lot of emotional beats here, and that's something I love about comics. Like Brian Michael Bendis' comics, Spider-Girl, a lot of those comics have, action, superhero, lightheartedness, but also has emotional beats. And actually the best way to put it is like Ultimate Spider-Man in a way. Miles Morales' book, I think I could say it's a similar tone to that has its drama. It has a lot of real-life situations, and has a lot of interpersonal relationships, but it's also a superhero comic, and there's some fun things there. I think we poke at superheroes a little bit more than Ultimate Spider-Man, so we have a little bit more fun elements. We make more jokes in our comic, but yeah, there's a lot of fun things here. I make references. I know I mentioned, I make a lot of Spider-Man references. I do. As a Spider-Man fan, there's a lot of Spider-Man references here, so you'll look forward to that. There's one in the first issue that I think you guys are going to love. I loved writing it, and I think you guys will like it. All right, the other guitar dude. All right, we answered that one. This is from Jay. what would be more surreal for you to read, your own comic or an action figure based on your character, since those are awards from the Kickstarter? Me and Rashaan were actually talking about this for a pre-show. Yeah, I mean, I think reading the comic is going to be more surreal. The action figure is going to be awesome to look at, just to see literally your character in 3D. That's going to be really cool. But I've got to say the comic. You just see the words come out there, and also see people's reaction. That's what I'm really excited about. Like, I know my story, and it'll be fun to see the artwork. That's always a pleasure. So I got to go with the comic on that. But I'm really excited for the action figure also. Right, this is Tevia. I'm going to read it through. I got to see if it's about your comic or not. Speaking of ideas for Like Father, Like Daughter, I was just wondering, is there going to be a sequel to this story called Like Mother, Like Son? And combine both your universes and my universe, my comic book, someday, because I really want to... All right, so this is, again, still the crossover question. There's a reason the title's called Like Father, Like Daughter. And again, you're going to have to read the whole first story arc to see what happens. So I can't answer that right now. It actually spoils some of the story. So there's a reason it's called Like Father, Like Daughter. All right, next is hold on, I gotta reload these questions. All right. I hate when I reload the questions. I lose some of the questions. So we reload it again. Let's see. And yeah, guys, definitely ask more questions in the comments below. And I see there's some spam questions I'll look through also. All right, this is for Comic Book Bros. I'm confused. Is Short Fuse a group that distributes artists, or Rashaan the artist? Sorry for my lostness. Rashaan, if you want to answer that question.
Sorry, I was actually typing a response down down for him.
Cool. Oh yeah, totally. It's cool.
I'm not the artist, and Short Fuse is the Short Fuse Media Group is the production company. We the artists work for Short Fuse Media Group. We have several artists, animators, programmers, website designers. We have an entire staff of individuals that work for us. I am the actual operations director. And I'm sitting here right now with one of my interns right now who also does logo work for me, which is Courtney. But yeah, we're the company. We're not. I'm not the specific artist. I actually don't draw at all. I used to draw when I was younger, but I don't draw at all right now. I pretty much just I hire artists. And I retain their services, and I assign them accordingly once I get in a working relationship with them to the point where they understand and they're in the contract to work for me. Hope that answered the question.
So, and I usually don't talk to the artist. I usually talk to Rashaan, and Rashaan talks to the artist. So that's usually how things work for that. All right, so let's go on to the next question. It's from Corey's Comics. Are you complete control of writing and drawing the scripts, or do you collaborate with an editor? I'm complete control with my writing. If Rashaan sees a problem with something, he usually lets me know, and then I fix it. But usually, you know, I haven't had that happen as often. So yeah, pretty much complete control, and then the artist has. I usually don't say, you have to do this for the artwork. I have an idea, but I'm definitely give a lot of creativity to the artist. I say, you could do, you know, your idea for the design. A lot of Invulnerable's idea, I just said, I don't want capes, I want a blue and red costume, and then the artist came up with the aspect of Invulnerable's costume. So I try to give creativity to the artist also, and just have general ideas to give them. So we're all creative here, definitely. We have our ideas and we collaborate that way. All right, next question. This is from Scotty Showman. Question. Sorry to quote Phil Buck of nerdbinge.com again here, but wrote some good stuff in his article. And he said in his article, I urge everyone to consider backing the Kickstarter project because the comic is based on the idea I believe in, which is stories that can help uplift young people. He goes on to say, we can help build up the storytellers who have a message that could truly help people in the world. I believe that this book fits the bill. So the question that Scotty Showman's asking, as writer, how does it feel when people are reacting to your idea like this? Honestly, it's flattering. You know, I didn't really think about it in that aspect. Again, I'm just telling a story about this girl that goes through the situation. I personally haven't gone through the situation, but I thought it was a really good idea for, a lot of emotional beats for a superhero comic that I've just never seen before, and especially for a family aspect book. That's something I was looking for, and a lot of twists and turns, a lot of mystery. You don't know why you left. You really don't know in vulnerable stories. That's a big part of the comic itself. So yeah, I wasn't originally thinking about like how young people react to it, but I guess as I look back at the book now, it's really cool that maybe someone could relate to this story, and I never thought about it that way. But I'm excited for the book to come out and see how people do react to it. All right, next question. This is from Tevia. Question, Hinclair Heroes is just wondering, as a writer, are you in complete control of your story? All right, so we did talk, actually someone did talk about that. This is different people but asking the same question. That's cool. Yeah, we're very creative. I'm pretty much in control of my whole story. My story has not changed. There's maybe one or two things, just things we had to change for the book, but yeah, and those are just little details, small details. But complete control of the story, which is great. All right, next question. Justin, what has been the most difficult part about getting the project going? Getting backers, I would say. That's obviously the hardest part, is to get the whole entire project going. You gotta share it. That's definitely the hardest part, and that's why one of the reasons we did this Q&A is to share the story with everybody and share the interest that we love the story so much, and hopefully people can love it also. So that's definitely the hardest part. All right, next is Other Guitar Dude. Have you been shocked about the great response and attention like Father Light Door has gotten before the first issue has even been released? Yeah, I've been totally shocked. We've gotten so much kind words, and I've met people who just like the book without even like watching my channel, which is really cool. And I didn't expect that. Honestly, when I first did this Kickstarter, I thought I was just going to get a lot of people that watch my channel supporting the book, and now I see people that just like the premise of the book supporting it. So that's really cool. And then people came to my channel because of the book too. So yeah, there's a lot of positive feedback out there, which I love. And again, it's really cool to see people's comments, because it's like I have another vision for the story, and some people's comments, I was like, I can't wait for you to read this part, because I think you're going to be excited about it, or you're going to be like, oh wow, I didn't expect the story to go there. So that's the exciting part. All right. Next question is from Mike Spiderslayer. I think we need to see a Comic Uno action figure. Mike Spiderslayer, could you guys make that happen? So, Rashaan, can we see a Comic Uno action figure happen?
Yes, we can definitely see a Comic Uno action figure happen, and the easiest way to do that is to do the $1,000 backing during the project and just notify us that, hey, you don't want to get a project made, action figure made for yourself, and you want to get your own custom Comic Uno figure, and we'll take care of that for you.
Yes, so $1,000 can be a Comic Uno action figure, or if we get enough demand, I'm sure we'll try doing it. If we get enough people asking for it, that would be really cool. I would love to see that. I don't know what my action figure would look like, but I'm sure Rashaan and the team will have a really cool idea that I'm looking forward to. I'm just looking forward to the Casey and Vulnerable action figures too, so I'm looking forward to that, and that's not even myself. All right, let's move on to the next question. Other Guitar Dude, third person on the stream has been really silent. Who are they? They're supposed to be. They're just, that is Rashaan's intern. They're doing the comments. That's why, that's Courtney. She's looking through the comments. And when Rashaan, when a comment comes up for Rashaan, that's when he answers some of the comments. But they're both in the comments looking up all the questions, and that's what they're doing.
Hey, Courtney is a he, just FYI.
Oh, it's a he? I'm sorry. Courtney's a he.
Not a problem.
Yes, both a name for a girl and a guy, so.
Yeah.
There you go. So Courtney is looking at the comments, so that's what's going on. Right, next question is from Jeremy. Is there a certain rating you'd five this comic? Now, star-wise or age range? Age range. So what is our rating for the comic? I try, there's so many times where I want to like curse in the comic because I feel like it would be really funny, but I do want to keep this a clean book. So the worst you're gonna hear in the book is like shit. That's all you're gonna really hear. The ratings, not all ages, but probably like a regular Marvel DC book rating, and it's not like rated M or anything. And I want to get as many people to read this as possible, and I didn't want to make it too gruesome. I mean, maybe there will be a book in my mind that will be like a Walking Dead type book, but I didn't think it was necessary for this book. So, all right, let's see if there's more questions. I got to load it up. So yeah, guys, definitely keep going with the questions, and we will answer as many as possible. We're at the 49-minute range now, so let's see. I just, again, sometimes with the comments, the way they load, it's kind of weird. So yeah, keep going with those comments as I try to load them up. All right, maybe I might talk about another topic as they load because sometimes they don't work. Okay, hold on. All right, I think it didn't totally load, but I'll figure it out. But yeah, guys, as you guys ask more questions, so Mike said a collector's item for sure. That would be a collector's item. It would be rare, but hopefully we get to see those Comic Uno action figures one day. As we get more questions to come on the feed or load onto the feed, definitely ask more questions, writing, artists, whatever you want to ask. I'm going to turn it to Rashaan. Is there anything you want to say about the comic book in particular?
No, I actually have a question for you.
Cool.
My question would be, so just total disclaimer, full transparency to everybody on the show. I don't even know the story beyond a certain standpoint. Kat
Yeah.
is the only one that knows the entire story. I don't even know the story, so I'm gonna ask. You kind of touched on it earlier, and you did mention that it would be villains in the story. Do those villains actually have powers?
I'm going to say they don't. They don't. There's other people in the story that might, but the villains do not have powers. But I will say it's something going on in the world now that is affecting it. I'm going to say that. It's the best way I'll put it. I will say there might be only one superhero in the world, but it doesn't mean that there's only one person with superpowers.
Okay, that's fair. Second question. Second question would be, so once I know you're leading up somewhere with the story. How long, like, and I know you said you don't like long drawn out stories, but how long do you think it's gonna take for the action to really kick in for the story?
I would say I'm writing issue 3 now, and I would say the drama kicks in by issue 3. There's something that happens that that changes things. It really gets interesting, and there's a lot of climaxes in the story. I would say there's 3 climaxes. One in issue 3, I know that's going to happen. That changes it. There's another one where you find out who the villain is, and then the last one where you find out who the true villain is. And that's all I'm going to say.
Okay, I tried, guys. I tried to get her to say something.
I mean, you'll see. There's a lot of hints here. There was a lot of hints during this Q&A. If you look back at it, I obviously did not spill the beans on anything, but there's a lot of hints to where the story's going. So Rashaan, what part you didn't read the screenplay, right? You just read the issues?
Right. You only sent me the single issues. So I have issue 1, issue 2, and issue number 3.
I might have to send you the screenplay. I'm going to send you the screenplay tonight, and you got to tell me what you think of these cliffhangers, because I need to know your opinion on this now.
Okay. So what you're gonna have to do though is you might have to hold off. I don't know if you saw me on Twitter earlier. I'm stuck in the middle of reading something, and I just can't stop reading it. So as soon as I get done get done reading that though, I'm all yours.
Okay, I'll send it, and then you can read it when you get the time.
Okay.
It's a quick read.
I do have another question. Do you have any plans for the stories on the webcomic? Because we don't want to end the webcomic.
I'm still thinking. I think with every issue, there's a new character that kind of pops up. So, like Stephanie and Wes, I'm thinking as issue 1 is released, I'll get a Stephanie and Wes one shot, and then with there's a couple new characters coming. I won't reveal who they are, but there are a couple of new ones. So I know Stephanie and Wes I'll definitely have one for, and then when we run out of characters, I gotta think about maybe it'll be like an extension of each issue. So that's what I'm thinking about. Just a like kind of a teaser for each webcomic.
Would you be opposed to having more fan interaction with the web comic versus the appearances that we're gonna have to do once the Kickstarter is done?
Oh
That's
no,
gonna
I
be
don't
in the
mind. Yeah,
actual book. Okay,
I don't
so for
mind that at all.
everyone,
Yeah.
for everyone that's referring to crossovers and mentioning their characters and things like that, I mean that might be something that we can consider doing. Is developing their characters within the webverse. I mean,
Yeah,
why not?
definitely. I definitely agree with that. Like Tevye, you're talking about your character for your comic. What's the price for the recurring on the web comic, Rashaan?
I believe it's. I have to hold on for a second.
Okay. So then we can answer you that, and then that also, helps your own comic book to get exposure. So I guess if you pay for that prize, you also get other things with that.
The recurring characters start at the $300 mark, but a character appearance starts at $100. So if they character cameos in issue number 2 or one of the web comics, and I just want to throw out there, we're saying issue number 2 or the web comic because it's really going to depend on how many people back the project and how many backers that we get based off of that tier. Because of course, if you know as of tomorrow after this dynamic Q&A, if 300 people say, "Oh, well, I want to be in the comic tomorrow." Well, 300 people can't, officially end up in issue number 2. So we can move them around either to the next issue or, within the context of the web comic. With the web comic, remember it comes out every week, so it's always opportunities. And we will be starting that back up as soon as the Kickstarter campaign is over.
And that means I'm gonna have to start writing some more webcomics. Probably once we get to like 10 days or something, I'll start writing it up because they're well, not probably not because you have to get the art too. So, well, Rashaan, when should I start writing the webcomics?
Well, I got some things in mind. I would say you could take your time. I got some tricks up our sleeve that we still working on. As you see, I pulled a couple tricks out already. So we have some
Yes.
things that we'll do. So you got plenty of time.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, Rashaan will definitely tell me. I got ideas. Honestly, the webcomic ideas came pretty quickly, and I will talk about let's talk about the webcomics as we get more questions. I want to like kind of get an inside look with those. So Rashaan told me about the webcomic to promote the Kickstarter. We did the webcomics, and it was a little bit of a teaser to issue 1. I want to like pick my brain a little bit of those webcomics because I never actually did that yet. So Casey webcomic, as you see, it's obviously the big premise of the book is her and her father. So it's her seeing her father everywhere, and I love the paneling for that first issue because I see, I sort of envisioned in my head what I wanted, and my favorite panel from that first webcomic was Casey with her arm on her side, and I loved how it kind of broke the panels. I love that. And I was thinking, once we get to the Jessica webcomic, I kind of think in a cinematic way because I am a film student, so I think about it in a cinematic way for the comic book. And everyone has a different style, but that's the way I looked at it. So yeah, I really liked the paneling for that. And then Invulnerable, what I try to do, obviously you can't reveal too much with Invulnerable. I know a lot about Invulnerable personally. It'd be bad if I didn't. But I do know a lot about Invulnerable, and like, what do you reveal, what you don't reveal? And there's a lot of hints in that Invulnerable webcomic. I'm gonna say that. And it leads up to stuff. And then Jessica, I thought was really interesting. I love that what I envisioned was that beginning scene where everyone loves each other, they're all family, and Invulnerable's holding this carrot in his hand, and they're all like they're playing, they're having fun with each other, cooking dinner, and Casey's like, oh my, I'm drawing or whatever, and we see Jessica's life change and then have this really silent dinner. Dinner was a time where they were having fun with each other and they were a true family. And now dinner is a time where there's all this silence. And I love that I ended it on the carrot. Invulnerable is holding this carrot at the happiest time in Jessica Casey's life, and then you see that the carrot's cut. And that was my cinematic view of Jessica's one-shot, was having something that was so significant in that beginning of the life, or beginning of that family, to, see where the family is at now. So really enjoyed that. So that's a little bit inside look on the webcomic. All right. So we're getting more questions here, which is great. So this is from Jay. Which character's voice was the hardest for you to really get used to writing? I would say Jessica was kind of the hardest, because things happen with her. I'll say that. There's things that happen with Jessica. It's kind of hard what to reveal, what not to reveal. And honestly, as I was writing the screenplay, the story really changed a lot. The story really does change a lot with the original screenplay. I originally wanted to make Casey a villain. I did. I guess revealing that she's not, but I wanted her to become a villain. And, that was like the motivation of the first steps of like Father Like Daughter. And then I changed it, obviously, as the series went on, or I wouldn't reveal that plot point. But that was something interesting. What was the original question I got to think about? Yeah, so the hardest person to have the voice was definitely Jessica, because I think her character changed a lot as I was writing the book, writing the screenplay also. I had a different vision for her. Her motives were different. I would say issue 1, her motives are the same from what I was planning, but the series changes with her motives. So I think that's an interesting part. All right, next question is Tevia, for all of us. I was just wondering, what is your opinion on today's comic environment? Because it seems to me that today's comic environment is so oversaturated with event comic atop of event. With another event comic, in my opinion. So yeah, you just think there's too many events. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of events out there. For me, I think a comic should have an event all the time with these solo comics. I understand why Marvel and DC do it. Sometimes there's a needed event. I do agree that there's some oversaturation with that, and I don't plan on any events for like Father Like Daughter. First of all, because it's one comic, so you don't have a world to really bounce upon that you need to bring every character together. So that's lucky for like Father Like Daughter. But I want to say the whole first story arc is an event. Every issue should be an event. Everything, like, I go back to Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales because I read it this week, but every issue something big happens, and that's what I see with like Father Like Daughter too. All right, next question. This is from Comic Book Bros. Hey, Kat, how has Gail Simone pushed inspire you throughout your writing? Oh, yeah, Gail Simone's a big inspiration. She's probably the most popular woman writer in comic books ever. And I love her writing, loved her Batgirl run. I mean, obviously I think my writing's different from Gail Simone. We just have different tones, but I love her writing, how she could push a female character to its limits and have different voices for her female characters like Tomb Raider or Black Canary or Batgirl. So yeah, Gail Simone was a big inspiration. I love her work, and she's an inspiring writer, and just put women writers on the map too. That's great. All right, next question is the other guitar dude. How did you know that now was the right time to release like Father Like Daughter to the public? I just wanted it out there, really. I don't know if there's ever a right time to put a project out there. But I will say, events that happen, there's a lot of realistic things that happen here it's a good time to put out there. It's a story that could relate to the world in a good way. So, yeah, also I think there's so many great character-driven movies, TV shows now. And that's a big inspiration now that television, has good content and people believe there's good content. Comic books, same thing, good content and good character-driven stuff out there. So, and, like Father Like Daughter is a character-driven book. So I think that's why it's a good time to just be in this sort of media in general. All right, next question is from Jay. After the Kickstarter launch, you got a lot of feedback. What was some of your favorite ones? One of my favorites is what Scotty Showman quotes a lot was Nerd Binge. He wrote some really cool things that I never even noticed about the young people reading the book and maybe being inspired. And there's just been a lot of great feedback. Writers that I look up to supporting the book. That was unbelievable. Comic book reviewers that I look up to supporting the book. That was really cool. Yeah, so it's been a blast to see all this positive feedback. hopefully when the book comes out, we'll get some positive feedback also. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Other guitar dude, when it comes to naming characters, is there a process or is just picking names out of the hat? I guess there's a process. You know, I think I was inspired by different characters by names. I don't know if I would mention them, but yeah, I mean, some characters just like invulnerable. I like it. It had to do with his power, so I was like invulnerable. It's because the one thing with invulnerable's name, I needed something that fit his power, but also sound really generic, because it's a superhero book that pokes fun at superheroes, and he's supposed to be that generic hero. That's the point of his character. So he's the image of that generic hero, obviously without making the book generic, and that's a hard balance, but he's a generic hero that's called invulnerable. And Casey, I always thought was like a very popular, like a popular girl type name, so I named her that. And there's some awesome comic book characters out there named Casey also. Jessica, I would say I was inspired by the look of another Jessica that inspired me for that. Stephanie, I actually inspired because Stephanie Brown, not that the character is like her, but I just always loved that name. So that's something I did. And then Wes, I just always thought Wes was a cool name, so that's why I picked Wes. So that's where the names come from. All right, here's some more comments. So where are we up to now? An hour? I say we'll go to an hour and a half, so definitely, Rashaan, is that okay? Would you want to go to the hour and a half point?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool. So I think that's where we're planning. So definitely get more questions in here. We got about half an hour left. Keep going as we go along. So, all right. Next question is from Tevia. I'm wondering what other stories are you guys planning to do like Spire Girl, aka Mayday Parker writer Tom DeFalco does for Mayday Parker? Are you going to team up with Tom DeFalco or Brian Michael Bendis? Hey, I would love to team up with these writers. They're writers I look up to. I don't think I'm going to at this point, or like Father, Like Daughter, but they came up to me saying, hey, Comic Una, I want to write with you. I'll be like, hell yeah, let's do something. You know, so if that opportunity came along, that'd be awesome. Okay, Scotty Showman, the carrot was cut. I was wondering why I ended on that carrot. Nice touch. Yeah, so if you guys want some inside information on, you know, the webcomic or anything like that, obviously, as a writer, you might not, you're not my brain, so I'd love to give whatever I can give to that, so that'd be awesome. But yeah, that's the reason. It was more of a cinematic thing than anything, why I did the carrot thing. All right, next question is from the other guitar dude. Oh, no events. I thought we were going to see like Father, Like Daughter family reunion or like Father, Like Daughter wedding day. Maybe the story arc will be called that. Who knows? You know. But yeah, you'll see as the series goes on what's going on there. All right, I'm gonna reload the comments just in case. Hold on. So keep going with those questions, and we'll answer more. Right. Loading. Okay, so I'll answer the one we have so far. Question. I was wondering, just Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Peter Parker, Miles Morales, was your comic inspired by Ultimate Spider-Man from both series, and plus inspired by the Ultimate Universe? Wondering also, speaking of death in comics, what's your opinion on death in comics in general? And I was wondering, when your comics characters die in your universe, do they stay dead, or wondering if do you bring them back? Who bring them back to life? Just wondering, like Marvel and DC does to their characters who never age or do not make it happen to advance the character like Spider-Man or One More Day. So we're gonna break up that question here. So the question was, I inspired by the whole Ultimate Universe. I mean, the Ultimate Universe didn't really totally inspire my book. It's just like the tone of the Ultimate Universe or the Ultimate book. You know, it's a very different book. But I was just using that as a reference to say the tone is very similar to that book. But there's a lot of differences from Ultimate Spider-Man in my book. So I'm not going to tell you my opinion on death in general, but I will tell you my opinion on death in Like Father, Like Daughter. Death is permanent in Like Father, Like Daughter. If someone dies, they're not coming back. That's the thing. And will people die? Who knows? But yeah, they don't come back. I've already made those rules in my head. I personally, I understand why Marvel and DC does it. They kill off characters and then revamp them because they're older characters. They've lasted 80 years. They could do that. For my characters, you're dead, you're dead. Unless there's a special circumstance that's different, but you're dead. Kind of like an Arrow rules, where I think they're going that direction, where someone's dead, they're dead. Same rules for my comic. All right, let's see. Some more questions here. All right. Let's see. All right, I think we got some in the spam here. All right. This was 8 minutes ago. Sorry, I think the question was skipped. I'm curious about it. So Phil from Nerd Binge asks this. Like Father is the story of a girl whose father abandons her to become the world's first superhero. Just think about the hypocrisy at play here. Superhero saves the world on a regular basis, but leaves his daughter to be raised without a father. It's a pretty heavy promise. A father leaving his daughter is indeed a heavy issue. Did you ever feel intimidated taking on such an issue, and much delving into can we expect? It delves into it a lot. You know, I was a little worried that I didn't want Casey to be a whiny character in that, because obviously this is such a big thing. It's a big event that happened in her life, but you don't want to make her sound whiny at the same time. It's like, oh, my father left me. You don't want that to happen either. So I had to keep the balance of it being realistic of how angry she is at her father, but not sounding whiny and that's all she talks about. It's not. I mean, it's on, you know, you relate to this character. And even though she does talk about her father leaving her a lot, because that's what the premise of the book is, she delves into these emotions, and there's a lot of emotional beats to it. Maybe we'll see her interact with her father, maybe you won't. And obviously you have to read the book as the series goes on to see that. But yeah, there's definitely some emotional beats pertaining to that. There's other emotional beats too, of just about family in general and friends and everything about superheroes. But this is as much a drama and emotional impact as it is a superhero book, and that's what I wanted with this. And that's a great question, definitely. But that's the balance. How do you make someone likable too for everything that happens? How do you make him vulnerable likable if you want him vulnerable to be likable? Who knows? Okay, here's another question. Oh, nope, that's the same question. Gotta make it reload. Okay. All right, here it is. Another question from Other Guitar Dude. Is there any other screenplays that you have that you want to later release? I do not have any screenplays written up, but I do have an idea for another screenplay. And actually, that's where I made my decision. I wanted to make this a comic book. I was going to, write out this other screenplay. I had an idea. It's a really cool idea that I'm not going to release right now, because maybe I'll make a comic book miniseries out of it. It's not a superhero book, but it's political slash... Also has some really great relationships in there, but that's another story. But yeah, I do have an idea for another screenplay, but I was going to write it. I'm like, but no one's seen these screenplays. So I was like, let me make Like Father, Like Daughter a comic book, and I'll release this as a book, just as a comic book, A. B, I want people to see the story. So that's why I made it into a comic. But I originally was going to make another screenplay, and that's what happened. But I do have the idea for the other screenplay, and maybe if I could work on 2 projects at once, depending on how Like Father, Like Daughter, comes, however that works out, maybe I'll make that second story as a comic book miniseries. It's not a super book, though. It's not, but it's a really concept. It has a lot of them. It's a journalism minor. It's a lot of fun. All right, next is... Right.
Hey, Kat, I want to chime in real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
People can no, we kept having people ask about the joining into the comic, and we did talk about the rewards for people joining into the comic and being characters in the comics, but we did forget to mention, as we haven't got any entries for the webcomic series that we brought out for the competitions either, for the contest. So we are still accepting those entries until the 26th of October. So, I mean, it's not necessarily going to be your character, but you can still, delve in and work and possibly with us on a comic within that time frame and we'll be accepting those entries again until the 26th. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And another thing that we could possibly throw out there is, any contest that any of the fans want us to run that we can consider throwing in at the same token.
I agree, because something we want with like Father Like Daughter is a big, just as my YouTube channel, just as Comic Frontline, we want fan interaction. I answer to fans, I listen to fans, and that's the point. So if you guys have a contest idea or you have an idea for whatever for like Father Like Daughter, let me know. Let Short Fuse Media know. And the contest idea, definitely, and join that contest. It puts your voice out there. Of course, we have to accept it. It has to be in the Like Father Like Daughter universe, and it has regulations. It can't be your own character, but it could be your own character in the Like Father Like Daughter universe, and that's for the webcomic. So yeah, if you want to enter that, go ahead. That'd be a lot of fun. So let's get a couple more questions going. I'm gonna turn it over to Rashaan. Maybe you have some more questions for myself as we wait for these last-minute questions. Get your last questions in there. That way we can answer them before we end the show. But Rashaan, do you have any questions for me that you could think of that we could talk about as we wait for other people to ask questions?
No, I don't really have a lot of questions for you. My biggest thing is how a lot of people ask, how's it been working with us? I mean, how for us working with you. My question is, how would it be for you working with us?
Love working with Short Fuse Media. Like I've been saying during the whole live show, it's been a great collaborative experience, and I talk to Rashaan almost every day about the project, and it's awesome. And we got some great artists here. Rashaan is a pleasure to work with, and we're doing an awesome job here, and that's why we want you to look at our project. We've been working, since like July on this, I think. Has it been that long? I think so.
Yeah, I think it's
I think
been
it has
about
been
that long. I'm actually pulling it up now
Yeah.
to find out.
I think it's been since July, and it's October now, so that's, July, August, September, October, and then when it's November, once it's over, it's been 5 months we've been working on this, and I've been working on the screenplay since a year ago, so it's been a project we've been working hard for, that you might read the issue for like 10 minutes, but we want this project out for you, and we want the story out there, so but it's been a pleasure to work with Short Fuse Media. I love you guys, so it's awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So any other questions as we wait for more? Because again, the comment section sometimes on stupid Google and YouTube, they don't load correctly. So I'm waiting for them to load in, especially since we're getting towards that time. I want to try to get to those last minute questions. So any maybe 1 or 2 more questions for me that you can think of?
I have when you get a chance, email me the PayPal account so I can issue that check.
My PayPal account? Sure.
Yeah, just make sure you. I actually totally forgot about it.
That's cool. I totally understand. We've been working a lot. You've been working a lot, so I totally understand. It's cool. So I'll email you the PayPal account when I'm done with this. Any other questions you think we could talk about? I'm trying to think. Anything about the webcomic? Issue 1, or maybe like you have more questions about something you don't know. Yeah, I like those questions. Like stuff you don't know. What can you ask about that?
Why? Okay, yeah. Here's one. I do have one.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that you're trying to establish your universe, okay, with the
Mm-hmm.
like father like daughter situation. But why are you opposed to crossovers?
I think
Ooh.
that is a good question. It is a good question. I think, like I said, I think you just have to tell the story of these characters first, and the story changes so much by the end that you can't have a crossover. Literally the universe changes by the end of this, by the end of the story arc. So if we did a crossover, it probably would interfere with this last thing. Maybe after the first story arc, I would be able to do a crossover, but that last issue will blow your mind.
But what if the crossover was done outside of continuity?
I would do that, definitely. Depends on the story too. Like because there's only one superhero in the world in my story, so your other story probably will be a superhero, so that would be kind of hard to cross over. At least
Okay.
at the point of the first story arc. So, yeah, it's an interesting question though. Maybe rules will change as story goes on, but as of right now, those are the rules of the universe. But that's an awesome question. One other question, as those load. Any other ones?
Yeah. So Are you 100% opposed to changing the story that you have that's revolving around your screenplay?
You know, I'm not opposed to changing the smaller details, but I would be opposed because again, these events that happen and by the end of the story are very impactful, and it could change, and it would change the story completely. Um, I wouldn't be willing to change those big details, but smaller details I'd be willing to change. I was actually thinking of a detail that I had in my screenplay that might be more interesting to change in the comic. I still gotta see if it makes sense. Of course, gotta see the logic of it all. So there is one little thing I might change. So yeah, not totally opposed, but the bigger events I would be.
Okay. As
Which
so
I'm
as
excited. Go
Okay,
on.
go ahead. So as a writer, as you because you know I write too, but not as
Hmm.
much as you do. But as a writer, when you coming up with your stories, how do you know when you're at the point where you don't have to change it anymore, you don't need to change it anymore, and you're just gonna settle with what you have instead of saying, but you know what, I haven't released it yet, and I can still make it better.
You know, yeah, I think revisions. Oh wait, I mean the great thing about having the screenplay first, there's so much time for revision, and when you write the comic, you revise and you add stuff. So converting it was a great revision exercise in a way. But yeah, you know, I try to read it. I write everything down. And I try not to change too much because I always believe that the first thing you wrote down probably is the best thing you're gonna write down. Obviously, you gotta change small things that might be grammatically wrong, or you just like, that doesn't make sense in this universe. I don't really like changing much because I think that original idea you wrote that for a reason, and that's why I look at it as a reviewer also. So I'll write it down as a writer, and then I'll look back at it as a reviewer. So I pick a part of if I was reviewing this comic, what would be good, what would be bad. So that's obviously or honestly as a reviewer, that helps a lot. That's a really cool question. All right, let's see if there's any more questions, and then we'll get through those last couple ones, and then we're probably going to end the Q&A. So let's see. All right, so it looks like we got some more questions here. All right. Question. I'm just wondering, what's your opinion of a comic book called The Paragon of Animals? I didn't read this, so I'll read Paragon of Animals. That's a prequel story to Supermom, and I'm just wondering, is your comic inspired by that story? Because in my opinion, I read that book and it was a huge letdown, a complete waste of my time. I've read Supermom. I like Supermom. I've not read Paragon. I read the Supermom book, so I know who Paragon is. I like it. I thought it was fun. But yeah, I mean, my story has nothing to do with Supermom, though. Supermom's about this mom who's a superhero. Yeah, of course, Like Father, Like Daughter is about a father who's a superhero, but there's all this other dramatic stuff here. They're not a perfect family at all, and that's the point of the book, is these relationships and how that affects the superhero world of and the villains and everything. How does it affect the Like Father, Like Daughter world with these relationships? So yeah, very different from Supermom. Supermom's a lighter story than mine. It's definitely a happier family. But good question. All right, so the other Guitar Dude. Will the web comic be direct continuity with the comic? Like, well, we will have fun comics where the dad in costume opens in the front door to Casey's date. Well, at this point, I don't think Casey and Vulnerable and Casey have not talked for over about 9 years, almost 10 years. They haven't talked at all. So I don't think there's any time right now that Vulnerable is going to be barging on Casey's date. So that's probably not going to happen. But there will be fun comics. I don't know if it'll be with. I mean, actually, I do know it won't be with Invulnerable. There won't be as many fun comics interaction with Casey and Invulnerable in the beginning. Maybe there will be. I can't really spoil it, but there will be fun moments. Definitely, there's a lot of fun moments here, and I think you'll see that more between Stephanie, Wes, and Casey. Those are going to be the most fun moments. But I can't say anything else about Invulnerable fun moments, or maybe there won't be. Maybe there'll be a lot of sad moments. You never know. Good question, though. All right, I think this is the last question, and then I'll reload to see if there's any more, and then we'll probably end it. Question, Hainclair Heroes. I'm just wondering, was your comic inspired by Infamous series, which is a video game kind of tells superhero tale, but the darker edge? No, I've never even played Infamous. I mean, I've heard of it. I don't think it has anything to really do with my comics. So, no, it wasn't inspired by that. All right, so I'm going to reload, see if there's any more, and if it's not, we will end the Q&A. It's loading. I'm going to load on Chrome also. All right. Yeah, so if you guys have any of those last-minute questions, you can get those in, because I'm only loading it one more time. All right, it seems like those are all the questions. So thank you guys for, showing up to this Like Father, Like Daughter Q&A. Hopefully we'll do another one in the future, maybe as the Kickstarter goes closer to its end, maybe another week, who knows. It depends if you guys like this, if you want more Q&A stuff, and also in the comments, let us know what type of videos you would like to see with Like Father, Like Daughter. So back up the Kickstarter, we would love it. We want this comic book to happen, and we want the story to happen, so hopefully you guys could back it up, and thank you guys for supporting if you have supported, and I can't wait for issue 1 to come out. So Rashaan, do you have any last minute stuff you want to say, maybe other ideas you want to see for my channel for Like Father, Like Daughter videos?
Nope, I think you're doing a really good job. I'm really happy with the turnout that we have so far. 50% after 1 week is phenomenal. I just hope the momentum keeps going, and we can make sure that we get this project out. Beyond that, just like to thank everybody for supporting. What I will say is what people can do more, subscribe to the webcomic too. That gives us a good indication of whether or not it's worth continuing the investment in the webcomic. I mean, we want to tell more stories. The way Short Fuse looks at webcomics to put it out there is we like to be able to continuously give more content. We like to continuously give more content to the readers. So even if we were in a situation where we were releasing one comic every month, in a perfect world, we could still have, in between those issues, we could still have additional stories going on. That's one of the things that Short Fuse is going to continue to try and do. As long as we're with, Kat, we're going to try and do the same thing with her. So, subscribe to the webcomic. We're going to probably post a link up for top webcomics, because we want to get to the point where you guys are voting on it, and we can start showing the world that the comic is good, and just keep pushing that forward. So subscribe to the webcomic, continue to support it, back the project, of course, and beyond that, that's all I got.
Yeah, I totally agree. Back up the webcomic. We work really hard on it, and it's for you guys. It really is, just to get more into the story and have a weekly basis of, information, either artwork or just an inside look of whatever. Maybe we'll definitely try to do even more stuff with that. So we look forward to that, and yeah, support the book. The thing is, we have to spread the word. We're an indie company, we're an indie book, and that's the best thing we can do is just spread it out. And $5, $10, $100, anything would help this book to become a reality. We're doing really well. We have 50%. That's awesome, but we gotta spread the word. That's something we gotta do, and that's what me and Rashaan have been doing for days. That's what we talk about, and that's why we did this Q&A, was to interact with you guys, hear your thoughts, and get a good indicator of what we got to do next. So thank you guys, and again, if you want to see more Q&As, please let us know. I'm sure we'll do one. Obviously, when issue 1 comes out, we're definitely going to do one, but we're going to do that before that too. So maybe when the Kickstarter is over, like getting closer to being over, we'll do more Q&As. So thank you so much, guys. This is Comic Uno. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter of Comic Uno and the Random Situation. Don't forget to follow Short Fuse Media on Facebook and Twitter. Don't forget to follow Like Father, Like Daughter on Facebook. Don't forget to support the Kickstarter for Like Father, Like Daughter. Just support all our stuff. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.